All right, thank you, DJ. Guys, well done. Come on, give yourselves a round of applause. So what we're going to have now is called plenary. So we're going to have a debate, right? But it's a different kind of debate. It's more of engaging, yeah? So every school is going to be well represented, but we're going to sort of have a discussion on climate change. So we're going to exchange ideas on climate change based on the schools, right? So we want to understand which school has actually understood the concept of climate change better, and that's going to be represented by the different debaters who have been preparing for this. Are we ready for that? Hey guys, are you ready? Hey, no, Hannah, I think you need to warm these guys up before we get to the plenary.
Can I get an guys? Can I get an Can I get an
Great, amazing. So we're going to do this with Hannah, and we're going to start with Bukedia Primary School. Bukedia, where are you sitting? Oh, you're right here. No wonder I'm so close to you, yeah? So who are the guys that are going to lead and represent Bukedia in this debate? Yeah? Oh, you guys don't have debaters? She's here. Okay, great. So we're going to have the first discussion that is going to be led by representation from Bukedia, and then Bale Primary School, and then North Road. Then we shall go to Navumali, Salikwa, Nyondo, and then Navumali High, right? So when you get the microphone, you introduce yourself, and where you're coming from, the school you're coming from, your class, and then I'll ask you the question. And the question is very simple. What, climate change education means to you, and also how it is being done, if at all, in your school. So that's a very easy question, right? Then we'll hear from the other school. So I'm going to invite a representative from Bukedia. Please come and take your seats. Quickly, yeah, you can do it.
A representative from Bukedia. Clap for your girl. Clap for your girl.
Appreciate her as she makes her way here. Yeah, please come and sit next to me here. And then we're going to we're going to invite representation from Bale Police Primary School. Come on, run.
Someone
make your
from
way
Bale
here.
Police. Clap for her.
Oh,
Yes.
Where is she?
She's coming.
Okay, as she makes her way here, we're going to invite a representative from North Road Primary School. One of the debaters, yes, yeah, I like the zeal with which you're coming. And then Navumali Primary School. Who's representing Navumali?
They have left Navumali has left.
Okay. And then Salikwa?
Do we have someone from
Salikwa?
Here. Somebody who can represent Salikwa for us? Yes. Our confident young man.
Amazing. Appreciate him as he makes his way to the stage.
Woo!
Quite confident. Okay, great. And then Nyondo Secondary School. Nyondo? Nyondo Secondary School.
They have left.
Okay. Navumali High. Okay, great. And then Bale Secondary School are very hosts. Great. Looks like we might need one more
chair.
One more chair.
Okay.
Great. Who's representing Bale?
Who is representing Bale SS? Please come. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to need one mic here as we get into this very interesting discussion. Thank you so much, guys, for representing your schools, and I really look forward to the discussion we're going to have on climate justice, on climate change, on green education or climate education, and what you guys are doing in your schools. Maybe you have an environmental or climate justice club, what that looks like for you, and some of the challenges you have made maybe in understanding some of these concepts to do with climate justice, to do with climate change. So that's really what the discussion is going to be about. So I really look forward to it. So I see the mic is the other side. So we're going to get right into it in about 3 minutes. Introduce yourself, your class, your school, and then what you understand by climate change and climate justice.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nakate Patience Pauline. I am in senior 4G. I am at Bale Secondary School. So typically what I understand by climate change, these are actually the varying patterns of climate. And then particularly, let me break down what climate means. Climate is actually the average weather condition of an area for a long period of time. So climate justice, this is actually what I understand by climate justice. Simply, this is how fair people behave. Actually, people relate with the climate, right? So when someone says, what do you understand by climate justice? To me, it is the fairness that mankind has in relation to the environment. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. Let's appreciate her. Introduce yourself, your school, your class, and what you understand by climate change and climate justice.
My name is Wazava Joel from Nyondo Senior Secondary School. What I understand by climate change refers to the integral change in the natural climatic conditions. And if we talk of climate justice, here we are looking at how people care about the environment, how they conserve it, how do they care about the environment, the natural conditions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Great. So we'll come back, don't worry. We have a great deal of discussion to have. Yes, please, go ahead.
My name is Kagoya Favor. I'm in P6 Blue. I'm from North Road Primary School. What I understand from climate changes is how to change on your climate in your environment. What I understand from Chief Justice is how people change their climate in their environment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So you hand over the mic to him. You resume your seats.
Good evening. My name is Sima Gracious. I am in P5 class.
Come on, guys, celebrate Gracious, yeah? And you did well even with the dancing, so Gracious, well done. Go ahead.
I understand the word climate change by saying to care for our environment. Thank you.
Come on, celebrate him, appreciate him, Gracious. He was also very bold when he came. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is called Lalinga Catherine. I am in primary 7. For me, I understand the word climate change is when people destroy the environment negatively, and climatic justice, I understand it by is when people conserve the environment, and climate is the average weather condition of a place recorded for a long period of time.
Okay, come on, celebrate Catherine for having such a good conceptualization of climate, and then we'll get into maybe clarifying some of the components on climate change, which is a good opportunity for us. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Natugonza Gabriela, and I am from Bale Police Wanyera Primary School. I am in primary 6A. What I understand by climate change is when the climate changes suddenly and it is caused by deforestation and like people don't care about the climate. And what I understand by climate justice is when people conserve the climate and continue planting trees. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Gabriela. So we have a new entrant on the panel. Yes, please introduce yourself, your school, your class, what you understand by climate change and climate justice.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nanyanga Ratifa, now Mali High School. I'm in Senior 2E. What I understand by climate change is simply the sudden change in the climate. Probably this is caused by human activities and among other activities. Then climate justice, this may simply refer to nature receiving. For example, if we've destroyed nature and we are going to reconserve it, nature is receiving its justice. So I understand it in a way that we shall be fighting climate change so as nature to receive its justice. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that first round. So I just want us to understand these two things very simply: climate change and climate justice. So climate change is the long-term shift in weather patterns, but also the increase in global temperatures or average temperatures as a result of human activities, especially the burning of fossil fuels, and that is coal, oil, and gas. Right? So that is climate change. But climate justice differs from climate change as a concept, that climate justice looks at the equitable bearing of both the benefits and burdens of climate change. It recognizes that whereas climate change affects all nations and all groups across the globe, it affects certain groups, especially children and youth and women, and even certain communities more unfairly than other countries. For example, countries in Europe or in the West, as we call it, are able to build structures that can help them be resilient or strong against some of these effects of climate change. For example, if it's with floods or with hurricanes, they have technologies that can warn them early that this flooding is going to happen or this storm is going to come, so they're able to evacuate people much faster, even warn them, so that way they can mitigate the impacts of climate change. But you find that in many countries in Africa, and indeed in many countries that are still developing, they don't have enough resources or enough technical knowledge to actually be able to put these mechanisms in place to be able to anticipate the occurrence of some of these climate-related disasters. So when they come, they find them unprepared, and so it's a major disaster. So climate justice says that for those who are able to bear the impact, then they should contribute to help those that cannot bear to be able to bear that, right? So that is why we are saying that some countries over the years have been polluting the environment, because as you know, we had the season of industrialization in Europe, in the Americas, and so when they were building their industries to produce goods, they were using coal, and eventually they were using fossil fuels, of course, oil and gas. And so because of the reliance on some of those fossil fuels, they were releasing a lot of fumes, a lot of emissions in the atmosphere, which eventually have contributed to global warming. I think we all know global warming, right? But you guys study global warming, don't you? Maybe let me hear from Patience. Have you studied anything to do with climate change or global warming, from the time you've been in school even until now?
Yeah, I've studied about global warming. I've even debated about global warming. So typically, global warming is just a constant rise in temperature in the globe or worldwide. Yeah, so actually, the major causes of global warming, just as you've been saying, actually, global warming actually comes about just because countries like China, countries like America, name it, the European countries and Asian countries, due to the high technology and the high industrialization rates, they emit these gases, chlorofluorocarbons, the methane, the carbon and stuff. So, but for them, okay, yes, we all agree that we are all affected by global warming, but then there are some countries that are highly affected compared to these other countries. And the countries that are highly affected are these low developing countries, or simply countries that are just developing. And then countries like China, countries like Europe, just like you've been saying, they have technologies that actually warn them early, but then this stuff of emitting those gases, they came up with a technology known as catalytic air converters. These catalytic air converters actually convert 78% of these harmful gases into harmless gases, for example nitrogen, and then the 28% is actually left for the nature to absorb. Yeah.
Amazing, guys. Really appreciate Patience. She has done her research, yeah? Even the statistics. Amazing. So you can hand the mic to Latifa, then we'll come back to Joel. Latifa, on the question of global warming, do you think that our education system, as you have experienced it, is doing enough to equip the students with the knowledge, but also the skills they need to contribute to the practical solutions to climate change?
Okay. Basing on school level, I know, because I learned it in primary and I'm now learning it in secondary, it's the topic we are handling. So global warming, as Patience said, the sudden increase in temperatures worldwide. So I feel like schools are really doing something, but to the other side, we also need that thing to be done in the community. We are impacting children with our values, like, for example, how to mitigate climate change. But what happens is that we as the children, we may go back to the communities. We are not going to do enough because our elders feel like they know it all. So what we think is that we should come up with ways of talking to the community members, to those ones who are bigger than us, to see on how we are going to mitigate climate change at community level, and then we shall move on.
Amazing. Thank you, Latifa. Come on, guys. Come give Latifa a good round of applause, making a good recommendation on that. And as we prepare to hear from Joel, I just want to encourage you, in case you have a question or you need some clarification, at the end of our discussion here, we'll be able to get those questions and maybe those queries that you have, so we can address them and be able to learn together, to share together, and then also see how we can be able to strengthen our action together. So, Joel, maybe to hear from you, you've heard from Latifa and Patience, what to understand by global warming. Is it the same with you? Do you think, the school system or the education system is doing enough to equip you with the knowledge and the skills you need to contribute to climate action?
I think they are doing the needful, because if we start about this global warming and how it is brought up, it is the industries which produce fumes like sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, hydrocarbons, oxides of nitrogen, and the other fumes which destroy the ozone layer. And the ozone layer acts as a screen which protects us from dangerous ultraviolet radiations from the sun. So if we start about how we can mitigate and reduce these industries, all of that is done by the education sector. So I think they are doing a lot on that. Yeah. Okay,
thank you. We're going to go to Favor. Guys, will you give Joel a round of applause? When pass up meeting, please appreciate them. They've been bold, yeah? Okay, we'll hear from Favor. Oh, okay. Gabriela tells me that she wants to add on. She might forget the point. So I'm going to invite her, and then we'll hear from Favor. Yes, Gabriela.
Addition to what Joel said, it's not only industries that produce out fuel. Also, us at home, I encourage that we stop using gases and like those things that bring out fuel, because we also endanger the ozone layer. So I was suggesting that we can keep on using charcoal and stop using gas, so that we can promote climate justice and not global warming.
Okay, interesting. I love your creativity, Gabriela. But the interesting thing is that charcoal is actually worse than gas, because for charcoal we actually have to cut down the trees, and for gas it's a transition fuel. It's not clean energy, but it's better than charcoal. So the ideal situation actually is using electricity to cook, for lighting, because it's clean energy, or even using biogas, which is from the waste, right? But charcoal is a major challenge. And maybe as we hear from Feb, I also want to hear from you guys. What do you guys use to cook in your different schools and even at home? What do you use mostly? So as Feb submits, I would like to come back and hear from you and how you think maybe we can better that and be able to enhance, the using or utility of clean energy in our homes, but also in our schools as well. Yes, Favor.
It is a certain increase in temperatures.
Guys, I hope you're listening. There's so much noise coming in from behind there. Please do pay attention, and we're going to come to you to pick your thoughts. Yes, Favor?
It is a certain increase in temperatures, but we shall not stop using charcoal because it is the main source. Even people stop cutting down trees.
We'll go to Gracious. So Gracious, just to pick you on the question on what you use for cooking at home and even at your school. What do you use mostly from your observation?
At school we use firewood. At home we also use firewood and charcoal.
Okay, so and that is why we say that part of our incubation series is actually the introduction of clean energy solutions in schools, because from the statistics that we have, about 94% of the people in Uganda use charcoal and firewood to cook. And yet, that is the very reason why we have deforestation going on, because the trees are cut down so we can get charcoal. And yet, you know that when you use charcoal, if you've seen some kitchens, how they look inside, they soot on the walls. So imagine the young lady, the young woman who spends her entire lifetime in that kitchen. If the walls of that kitchen look that black with that soot and that nasty with all the fumes and emissions that are on that wall, then imagine what the walls of the lungs of this young lady look like eventually as she grows. So the utility of charcoal and firewood produces those indoor air pollution or emissions that come from the burning of that charcoal and that firewood, and that has an adverse effect on your health as a young person or as a woman who, of course, based on the culture setting, is exposed constantly to those emissions. That is why we are saying that we need to make access to clean energy in schools more efficient or more effective or much easier by making sure that we work with the different partners to make some of these solutions much cheaper, because some of them have been really expensive and so schools do not want to invest in them. And yet we also want to create a safe environment both for the students but all the staff in these schools. So whereas we rely on charcoal and firewood, it is dangerous for the environment, but it's also dangerous for your health as an individual because you're exposed to those emissions that are bad for you, right? So when you go back at your home, in your schools, try to engage your parents, try to engage the teachers, the administrators on the possibility of adopting clean energy solutions. And for us at Kali, we are available and we are still engaging other development partners to make some of these solutions more affordable and more available for the schools that we've been engaging with, especially those that have been part of Eastern Incubation Series. Okay, so let me hear from Gracious, from Catherine on from her observation what kind of energy they use at home and then at school, and maybe what can be done to make clean energy more affordable or more available for you at school but also at home. Yes, Catherine.
At home we use charcoal, and at school we use firewood. How we are going to
Are you scratching your head to get the idea?
First part on your question.
Okay, so you've answered the first component actually on what you use. You said at home you use charcoal and then at school you use firewood.
Yes.
Both of which, as we have said, contribute greatly to deforestation. Yeah. In fact, right now I think the green cover in the country is maybe about 9%. Okay, coming maybe because we've been having efforts on afforestation, reforestation, coming to maybe 11%. Can you imagine? And about 20 years ago it was about 34%. So because of the increased population and urbanization, because now we are using more of that firewood, more of that because of population, we need to cook more food. So that means we are cutting down more trees. But also the options that we have on clean cooking are not affordable for most people, so they don't use them, right? So that means that we need to do more, and that goes to the second component of your question, Catherine, that what we need to do more, for example, is to make some of these solutions more affordable so people can, be able to afford them, make them more available. But also the issue of mindset change. I've had people say that when you cook food using electricity, it's not as as tasty, as, if you cooked the same food using, charcoal or firewood. And one wonders, does the firewood somehow or the charcoal end up in the food somehow? Yes. So it really doesn't, and I think it's a mindset issue. And recently we had some campaigns, and of course we're going to be having them in the other incubation series on clean cooking in schools, to sort of demystify some of these myths and misconceptions about clean cooking, because in Uganda here the major cause of deforestation is actually for that energy for cooking, especially with the firewood and the charcoal. So yeah, okay, thank you so much, Catherine. We'll go to Gabriela. Gabriela, you just share with us what is used mostly at home and at school, and then maybe what can be done better to make these solutions more affordable. Yeah.
At home, we use both charcoal and electricity, while at school, we
you use electricity at home?
Yeah.
Wow, that's one in very many, huh? Okay.
At school, they mainly use firewood.
Okay.
I was suggesting that it's not bad to use firewood, but it's also dangerous. So I was suggesting that if they go to fetch firewood, let them cut down one tree and plant more. If they cut down one, let them plant like two. If they cut down two, let them plant 5 of them, so that they can maintain the climate and not destroying it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gabriela. Guys, let's give Gabriela another round of applause. Yes, but as the mic goes back to Latifa, I just want to add that whereas it's good to plant trees, you need to realize that if you cut down a tree, cut down trees and then plant, you need to realize that if you cut down a tree that has been in existence for 30 years, yeah, or even 50 or even 100 years, if you cut it down, then the tree you're going to plant is going to take another 50, another 20, depending on the type of tree. If it's indigenous, it might even take longer to get to that level. And in the meantime, the carbon that has been absorbed by that tree you cut down will of course not be absorbed, as we are waiting for that tree to grow. So it's good to plant trees, yes, but it's also good for us to conserve the trees that we have now. And that is why we are saying that we need to transition, which is a just energy transition, moving away from fossil fuels, but also because at the international level, have you guys heard of the SDGs? Anyone here heard of the SDGs? You guys have heard of SDGs. So the SDGs, we have SDG number 7, which is this one here, and it speaks about access to clean and affordable energy. And it says by the year 2030, we should make sure that everyone has access to electricity. And just so you know, in about 600 million people in Africa do not have access to electricity. Can you imagine? About 600 million people do not have access to electricity. Right? And in Uganda, as I mentioned, only 6% have access to clean cooking, and that is electricity, or for some, even the transition fuel using biogas or maybe LPG, which is liquefied petroleum gas, right? So there's a lot of work to be done, and that is why we're actually having this incubation series, so we can get to share some of these ideas with you, and then be able to inspire you to, have these things in mind as you study the things you're studying, for you to know that the world actually needs you, the planet needs you. So you're not studying just for yourself, you're studying so you can excel and change the world. And climate action is one of the most convenient or the easiest ways for you to make an impact on the world. Why? Because the challenge is great. Right? The challenge is great. There's some people who don't believe in climate change in Uganda here and even across the globe, people that don't believe in climate change, and yet we continue to see the adverse impacts of climate change. We continue to see communities suffering long drought spells, suffering landslides and mudslides and floods, and all those things, right? So we just want to encourage you as you go back, as you go back to your schools, you should be, champions of climate action, right? Try to get to know more information, and of course as the incubator we'll continue to engage you. Even sometimes we want to come to your schools and see how we can be able to create some of these clubs on climate action clubs. If there are schools that already have some of those clubs, how we can partner with them to even lead projects, actual projects, practical projects, in these schools. Could be with tree planting, could be with awareness creation, could be with engaging the communities. So we want to walk this journey with you. So the Eastern Incubation Series is not a program. It's not like it's going to happen today and to end. It's actually a movement. We want to build momentum, we want to walk this journey with you, we want to equip you, give you all the resources, the knowledge, the networks you need to be able to contribute your part to a greener, sustainable world. So in the interest of time, I'll stop it at that. Unless there's a question or two from the audience, we'll be more than happy to address. I would like to request maybe Hannah or maybe Patience to run the microphone to the hand that is, I see two hands. There's one there and then one here, and then we'll be able to land the plane. Okay, great. Please, when you get the microphone, try to be as brief as you can so we can fast track on the time. Introduce yourself, your school, and then you can ask your question.
My name is Wabsa George Kevin from Namal High School, Senior 4. And my question is that, yes, of course, we are doing all our efforts to ensure to calm down the climate change. But what should we say about these people who manufacture those things to us? Because I think so. Those people who manufacture the poor are treating us more. Because these people who are down don't know the use. For them, the work. My question is that, we're doing all our efforts, I really thank that. But my question is, what should you do for those people who manufacture those things that we, the people, local people, we are using? Because I think so. Those people who are manufacturing, the people must question first before they bring them down. Because we have the passion of the nature. But those guys, they must be questioned too. So I was requesting from the people in charge, what should we do for those people? Because the people are touching us more.
Okay, thank you. As that microphone moves to the hand this side, I'm going to respond quickly to your question, and I think it's a very good question on, what should we do? We should be engaging those people. And that is the very reason why we are having this incubation series, that we want to empower you to be able to hold those people accountable. Because for us, we have the National Environment Act, we have the National Climate Change Act, we have the National Environment Waste Management regulations, we have all those laws and policies. Sometimes government falls short, sometimes NEMA falls short in holding these people accountable. But once we build this movement of young leaders who are eco-cautious, who understand what climate change is and what needs to be done, and they understand their rights, the right to a clean and healthy environment under Article 39 of our Constitution, through that legal empowerment, we know for a fact that we can empower you to hold these people accountable. As you grow and go through the education system, you're able to identify some of these gaps, and very soon you're going to be in places of influence and decision making. And because you have been built over the years to understand the imperative behind climate action, then you'll be able to make the right decisions, you'll be able to hold duty bearers accountable, you'll be able to speak truth to power and to hold all those who are polluting the environment or all those who are degrading the environment to account. So that is what this program is about. And that's why we're interested in young people who are fresh, who have fresh ideas, who are passionate and can be able to drive the change that we seek to have. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Watenya Barnabas from Nyondeses. I'm a teacher. The question that has been running in my head as the conversation has been going on is keeping the trees the only way of preserving the environment? Because almost everyone has been talking about it. Because you find that yes, we need to keep the trees, we don't need to cut them and do what, but there are things that it is trees that can help us to solve. By saying this, I don't mean that I go against afforestation and planting 900 as you cut one or whatever it is, but there are situations that are inevitable. I don't know whether it is a mindset or what, but even as you're seated, thank God we are protected. The whole school, we are protected. We are sitting on plastic and metal. But just when you see behind and you see up, you imagine how many trees were cut to make that furniture. And yes, we need it. Is there any other way we can preserve the environment apart from us fixing our mindset only on the trees? Because I will not sleep on the tree, but I'll remove the tree and I build a house, won't I? If that is the only piece of land you have, and it is a forest, will you arrest me for cutting down the trees to build my house? So even as we are still conserving the environment through keeping the trees, let's also work around the clock to see that there are other things that can help us to conserve this environment. The world is growing at a very high rate. Population is increasing. I thank God Ugandans, we have embraced Muzale Mwale with all, and many of you are planning to produce 19 children. Where will you keep them? You have a half acre of land, and the other acre is full of trees, and they need a place to stay. So let's look for another way of conserving land other than only sticking our minds on the trees.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Barnabas. And I think that you raise a very important question. There are so many ways to conserve the environment. There's so many ways. We talk about planting trees because in Uganda, that's a major cause of environmental degradation, deforestation. So where we talk about planting trees, reforestation, afforestation, because in Uganda, that local dynamics, or that local context, is that deforestation is the major issue. But also in many countries where we've seen industrialization, the component there, yes, is on mitigation. How do you reduce, emissions that are coming from your production systems or your production chains? So there's so much we can do. We can look at agriculture that is regenerative. We can look at renewable energy. We can look at cutting emissions in our productions. We can look at recycling, reusing, all those things that can be done. But also the question of the trees is very important because, as I said, the green cover has receded from the 34% over 20 years ago to now about 9 to 11%. So still, it's something that we need to do, and it's very important. But I agree, there's so much that needs to be done, and we can begin with the low-hanging fruits, as we've said, with the planting trees, and brace ourselves to do much more. Okay, I'll take one more from this young man here, and then I'll be able to conclude this debate. Okay, so let's get the microphone to him quickly. Then in 1 minute, we'll be able to conclude because our time is fast spent. So please be brief. Oh, it's a girl. My apologies. Please introduce yourself. Introduce yourself and then ask your question.
My name is Nakato Nusula. I am in P6A class. And let me just answer that question. The answer is just reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Amazing. Come on, guys. Will you give a thunderous round of applause? Okay, great. I see there are two more questions. I can't say no because, well, we want to ensure that everyone has asked the questions they have to ask. So we'll get that question there and then one more. And then after that, we'll be able to conclude in the interest of time. Please make your question very brief and concise.
Yeah, thanks for the program. Now that we are ambassadors of climatic change, now that we are ambassadors, as we go back to schools, the message is that we are to go and plant the trees, and actually we who are here, we are to be now the ambassadors of others. I heard that we are to be given some 100 trees, so I don't know, are we going with them now, or there will be a program that they will send them to schools?
So the 100 trees are a program in the offing, coordinating fundamentally by Uganda National Students Association, and we'll of course explore a means of supporting that initiative, and we'll be able to coordinate again and come back to you. It's in the pipeline and something that we'll be able to follow up and then be able to give you an ultimate update on that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. One more and then that will be it. I saw a question around here. Okay, that will be it in the interest of time. Okay, that will be the very last one, yeah? Because we'll keep going back and forth. Make your question very brief.
Okay, thank you. I am Masiale Chris Emma from Nyondo Secondary School, Senior 4N. So my question is not actually a question, but it's actually a suggestion. necessity is a rule. So what we are saying here is that you're telling us do not cut trees, do not cut trees, do not cut trees. But technically, there is no electricity we are going to use. Electricity has not reached the very villages. So what do you expect those people from the villages to do? True electricity is here. In town it's available, it's everywhere. But those people in the village, they do not receive the electricity. Yet the very same government is telling them, do not cut down trees. So do you expect them to use what for cooking? Sunshine or what? Ending that, let me first ask another one. Technically,
in the interest of time, let's just take that one because we need to give someone an opportunity. Yeah, we'll take that. Yes, we'll take that. Someone move the microphone to the teacher there and then we'll close it. In response to that, it's very simple. That is why we are here, really. We are doing our part to make sure that you guys understand the challenges, because they're actually real national and international challenges to energy access. And we are saying that we can together be able to undertake better advocacy, because government is doing some work, but also need development partners, the private sector, to be able to help government cover some of those gaps to make sure that we have universal energy access by 2030. So there's a lot of work to be done because it's a major solution. Once there's energy access and it's affordable, it's available, then people will reduce the reliance on firewood and charcoal, because they'll be then using electricity. So yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but that is why we are building advocates. We are building this generation of climate leaders to be able to champion some of these initiatives. Yes, in 1 minute, Nuko.
Thank you, sir. I think we've looked at zeroing at using firewood at schools for cooking. And indeed, when you look at the firewood that's used almost every week, it's a lot of firewood, which means every school is practicing deforestation, and we have seen that danger. Now, my question is there a way we can come up with a solution of using the gas from the toilets? Because the children are really many. If we tap the gas from the toilet, it can be reused for cooking. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Okay, the mic will come back to me. And that question actually goes to the heart of our campaign, the Clean Energy Solutions in Schools campaign. What we want to do, we want to make sure that the schools, especially those that we've worked with in this campaign or in this series, have access as pilot schools to clean energy. And so we're engaging different development partners, the ministry as well, to ensure that we address this issue, can be able to come back and ensure that we're able to help these schools transition from the reliance on firewood and charcoal, people to access solar solutions, to access electric cooking, to even access energy efficiency measures. So it's something that is very possible, and we are taking the charge on ensuring that we come up with that solution through our Clean Energy in Schools campaign, or Clean Energy Solutions in Schools campaign. So it's something that is at the back of our minds. We're coming up with we've come up with a concept, and we've already engaged some stakeholders, and we'll be able to come back to you with some of the solutions, with of course support from the Ministry of Energy and Development, but also with the development partners. Great. So guys, will you join me in appreciating our panel, the different debaters, and please come on guys, you can give them a better round of applause. Okay, so guys, we're going to take our group picture here. We're going to take a group picture here, and then after that, I'll be able to, actually even before, I think I'll hand the mic back to Hannah. And I just want to thank you for sharing your thoughts and sharing, your aspirations. And I just want to encourage you, let not this conversation stop here. When you go back to your schools, to your communities, to your families, engage, some of the young people there, engage your parents, engage your teachers, your school administrators on some of the ideas you have had here, to see how best they can be embedded in your families, in your communities, in your schools. Will you do that? Do you promise to do that? Do you guys promise to do that? Okay, great. So we're going to do high five.
So let's stand up, 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 let's stand up. Move here, move here, move here, move here. Here, where there is light. There. All right. We're going to take a picture together. I'm excited that we've had a very lovely roundtable conversation. We're going to look at the camera right over there and say Kali, all right? Kali. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.